Hi, everyone. Okay. Hang on, I gotta do something here. Got it. All right. Thank you, Teresa. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you for those kind words. I'm sure my sponsor could fill you in on the rest of the story. Yeah. But thank you so much. And it is so true. The moments that we have gotten to share together, oh my gosh, the laughter and the sharing and the connection, I just absolutely love. I'll start my timer. I want to thank you guys for inviting me. To join you again. I love this meeting. I've been able to join you a few times, and I love the topic. I love step 11. And it's my second time to come and share. And I'm like, oh, do I have anything new to share? And I'm grateful to say that I do, because I get to keep growing. I don't like the growth spurts, but since I have been with you, I've been through a few growth spurts, and I'm grateful for those opportunities once I'm through them. I'm not grateful as I go through them, but I'm grateful afterwards, and I'm grateful for the growth. So I was like, okay, what am I going to share? And I was looking at it, and a few things in step 11 have been really jumping out at me. Oh, before I start, I should say, I think I'm Judith. I'm an alcoholic, first and foremost, and and my sobriety date, I just was all enthusiastic. I jumped right in there. My sobriety date is January the 19th, 2009. So I became a teenager this January. So I'm just, really rebellious, excited, whatever. And I have a home group. My home group is the Three Legacies, and they meet on Thursday nights. And you're welcome to join us. We are a hybrid, and we are going through the concepts right now. So if you're interested in that, please join us. Okay, where was I? I was super excited about some things in step 11 that have been jumping out at me because of the things that I have been going through. These have become more and more meaningful to me, and deeper. And what it is that here we ask God for inspiration and intuitive thought or decision. We relax and take it easy. And then the little sentence that I chose for tonight, we don't struggle. And before I jump into it, I just want to just very briefly qualify. I am an alcoholic, of course, and I don't have time to tell the story, but I was so disconnected from anything spiritual, from any sort of higher power, and I was disconnected from everyone, relationships, other people. I was disconnected from myself. I was in a place in life where I describe it as, in my alcoholism, it was like having a spiritual leprosy of the spirit. And that's how I came to you. Now, the first year when I was in AA, I refused to get a sponsor. I refused to work the steps. And so I suffered greatly with untreated alcoholism. And then I finally got a sponsor, and I'm very grateful for that. After a year, it almost cost me my life. Please don't do it the way I did it. Get a sponsor right away, jump in the steps. But I finally got a sponsor. So for me, the obsession to drink was very, very strong on me for the first year, obviously, because all I was doing was attending meetings, thinking that was the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And then it was a struggle for me the second year as well, as I worked through the steps. But the obsession to drink was removed at some point during my second year. Don't know the day. And that occurred only as a result of working the 12 steps, going through them with my sponsor. And from that point on, to the best of my ability, I try to live them. I don't call it working them anymore. I try to live them in all my affairs. However, before that, before I worked the steps, before I got a sponsor, my physical sobriety, not recovery, but my physical sobriety was a living hell. It really was. I just had untreated alcoholism, and that almost did take me to the gates of insanity or death. And I was about to take my life. I remember that painful hell very, very clearly. I'm grateful that I remember it. I am grateful for the desperation because as a result, I take great care never to experience it again. I never want to go back. And how I do that, how I don't go back to that living spiritual hell, that physical hell, that mental hell, the obsession, is by growing and enlarging my spiritual life on a daily basis, just like step 11 indicates. I don't just want to maintain because my alcoholism doesn't just maintain. My alcoholism is progressive, and therefore my spiritual program needs to be progressive. Step 11 is not static to me. It grows or it doesn't grow. I grow and I see it differently. I get more out of it. I get to go deeper and deeper and deeper. I have found that a half-hearted practice of step 11 or the steps is not going to sustain me through the trials and low spots that are certain to come. You know, I have a friend that says, what is coming to your neighbor's door is coming to your door. And I have found that to be very true. And I need to be ready. Yeah, it's just done me no good in my life at all to hold on, to cling to things, to try and bargain to what, for what I want, and to demand and try to grasp this happiness. And also for me, it is deadly to just check boxes or make a show of my spiritual program, make a show of, letting go of the things that don't really matter to me anyway. It's the things that really matter to me, the things I want to cling to, that seem to stay in the shadows. And that is why I love step 11. Now, and I'm just sharing my experience with step 11, obviously. And keep in mind, I'm not talking about perfection. If I say something that your sponsor says differently, please listen to your sponsor. This is just my experience. I'm not so it, I come across maybe pretty like enthusiastic. I like to call it passionate. Other people like to call it pushy. I don't know. But I'm not talking about perfection. I'm talking just about a committed and honest practice and to make progress. A lot of times I used to hide behind that line. It's not perfection, just progress or whatever. Now I can't. I'm terrible at quoting. Um, and and sometimes I hide behind that, like, well, I'm not perfect, but I'm not progressing either, and I can't hide behind that. I was told early on in my sobriety that the divine or God, I don't care what you call them, I'll go between power, divine, God. I don't. It's just a label to me. But I was told early on that God is not easily pleased. No, sorry. God is easily pleased, but not easily satisfied. I got to get that right. God is easily pleased, but not easily satisfied. And I didn't understand it at first, and I needed it explained to me. And with this not perfection, God doesn't expect perfection, but we're heading toward. We got to be making progress. And what it means is the example that was given to me is just like parents, with their children learning to walk. Oh my gosh, that first step, and they're videoing it, and it's like, come on, take that first step, take that first step, and the child takes that first step, and everybody's cheering, and yay, the first step, and you tell everybody took the first step. How exciting, and it's a celebration. We're so easily pleased. Oh my gosh, it's just a step. How big of a deal is that? Well, it is a big deal when it's the first step. We're easily pleased, but we're not easily satisfied. We don't want that child to stay at that ability, that, very unstable walking and falling over. We want that child to grow, to be able to run and jump and play and things like that, and to progress in life, to be successful, to be happy, to be able to fully participate in a wonderful life. And that's exactly what I've been taught. My higher power wants for me. My higher power is so easily pleased with me. It's like, yay, Jude, you did it. This, yay, good for you. Now let's keep going. Let's go. Come on. Not easily satisfied, not willing to keep me as an infant spiritually. And so that's what, for me, step 11 is all about. It's continuing to grow, continuing to go deeper and in this connection with this higher power. So the super, exciting news to me is that in the spiritual life, awakening is not negotiable. It is not a theory. It's a guarantee. It's a promise. I will have a spiritual awakening. I will have a spiritual experience. I love that you read that. And it's sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. It seems like for me, it's slowly. But it is a guarantee in this spiritual life. It's not negotiable. It will happen if, and if you could imagine a capital I and a capital F, if we do the steps, it will occur. And to me, that's super exciting. I don't have to do it perfectly. Obviously, I like to say I'm perfectly imperfect, but I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and it will happen. So what I love about step 11 is that it has such strong spiritual content with tons of common sense. The spiritual way of life is practical. And what I like to say is step 10 keeps me good with all of you, and it helps me not harm you all. And step 11 helps me connect with this power that makes it possible for me to be at peace with myself, to be comfortable in my own skin. Teresa said that she likes hanging out with people or being with people that are comfortable in their own skin. I cannot believe the fact that today I am comfortable in my own skin. I never was. If I could have, ripped it open and escape from me, I would have. I could not stand who I was, what I was. I could not stand myself, the state of my internal condition. But today, step 11 allows me to connect with that power, and I become at peace and ease. Sometimes even perfectly at peace and at ease. But I love the fact that it's practical, and it is actually super easy to follow. Or I should say it's simple to follow and maybe not easy, because my ego gets in the way and tries to complicate it and says how difficult it is and all of that. Unfortunately, I can often neglect it. So as Teresa said, the sentence that I chose tonight is on the bottom of page 86. And it's just very simple. It says, we don't struggle. Now, I don't read this sentence as an external condition or experience, because there are, like I said, what's coming to my neighbor's door is coming to my door. And there are difficulties. There's heartbreak, there's illness, there's loss. There's financial difficulties, there's just indecision, and there's fear, and all these things. So if you're reading this as, oh, we're in recovery, and so everything's going to be unicorns and rainbows, and it's going to be all smooth, that is not the way it's going to be. I personally don't read it as an external experience or promise, but rather a direction for me to take for an internal condition, an internal state. This is my directions here in the book that tells me what my actions should be when I face indecision, when I'm afraid, when I'm disturbed. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is an action. This is an instruction for an action. I don't struggle. Unfortunately, my ego loves to struggle. And I call, self or ego, same thing to me. I'm in the bondage of self and the bondage of ego. And my ego loves to struggle. Oh my gosh, it thrives on struggle, on confusion, chaos, conflict. So when it says we don't struggle, that's vital for me to remember and to also practice. But how do we do it? How do I do it? How do I not struggle? Because my ego tells me, okay, this is important. This time is different. And it gets all in there. Well, how I do it and what I've been taught by my sponsor is that, and there's a number of steps that help me with this, but in particular in this regard, step 11 is all about my need to create a space. To create a space. And in that space, I invite and then experience the divine or higher power or God, whatever you want to call it. But first, I got to create the space. And then I invite this power in, and then I get to experience it. There is a line I absolutely love in Bill's story, and I'm not going to quote it correctly because I'm horrible at quoting, but it says, I saw, I felt, I believed. And to me, that, it's like, I see you guys doing this. I see the results of this practicing the pause, of this trusting. I see it in you. I get to follow you. And then as I take my baby little steps, I feel it. And then I believe. Anytime I need this, because anytime my ego is running the show, it only serves to imprison me, and it causes me so much suffering. I once again become anxious and afraid and depressed. And my favorite, hustling for worthiness from those around me. I forget who I am. I forget whose I am. And when that happens, then all of my actions become more of an expression of self-centered fear than of this spiritual inner freedom. And once again, I become a prisoner of the bondage of self. I become a prisoner of my self-created delusions. And what do I do? What can I do? In this step 11, my daily practice. Well, in my daily practice, I do meditation daily. Well, I start my day, and step 11 is so great. Like I said, it's intensely practical and concrete. It's simple. It lays it out for me of what I'm supposed to be doing in the morning. And so I do that, and I start my days with prayer, and I do meditation. For me, meditation has become a very, very important part of my spiritual practice, my spiritual growth. It quiets the monkey mind. That's one of the best things. It quiets the voices. We only can I talk to you guys about voices. If I talk to normal people about voices, they get a little bit worried. But it allows me to be still. It allows me to be still and to know that God is God. One of the greatest gifts and benefits, hang on, I got to check my time. One of the greatest benefits in this program has been that I have learned or taught, been gifted the ability to be still, which has resulted in me being comfortable in my own skin. I get to be still today. I don't have to hustle for worthiness. I don't have to promote myself, be the center of attention, all character defects. And through meditation, or that pause where I'm pausing and inviting my higher power in, and then experiencing my higher power, I discovered that being, B-E-I-N-G, being, who do I be, is more important than knowing, more important than managing. I love to be the manager. And in doing that, I get to discover that my life is not my possession to be defended, to be protected. My whole life, it's like I need to protect me, mine, and I want more, but me, mine, and more is how I used to live my life. And I needed to protect it from you, because we all are colliding. When we operate in self, we're always in collision. And we step on each other's toes, and I need to protect myself. But through this process and through we don't struggle. I don't have to be so defensive. My sponsor is so good with me on this and redirecting me all the time, because my first reaction when I feel threatened or when I get afraid is, let's circle the wagons, just, and yeah, let's go get them, and my reaction out of fear is, I will burn the village to the ground, all your huts, everything, just, that's how I am. I get very afraid and very defensive. But through this, it's like, no, Judith, we don't struggle. We don't struggle. I don't need to, because I know who I am today, and I know whose I am today. And that is, I'm God's girl. And nobody messes with God's girl, not spiritually. Nobody can take away the inner peace and that connection I have. Yes, I'm not talking about their struggles externally, but internally is what is important to me today. So through this process of not struggling and just being and being still and knowing that God is God and I'm not, I discovered that I don't have to defend my ideas, my beliefs, my possessions, which really aren't mine. I don't have to defend my life. I get to discover humility and just being quiet. I love in Bill writes, it's got nothing to do with step 11, really. It's more in the traditions, but I think it applies everywhere. And it says, we let our friends defend us. You know, we think it best to let our friends defend us. And I can just sit back when I'm spiritually fit and not be so defensive and practice humility and stillness. I also get to discover in practicing step 11 that there is slowly a unmasking of the delusion of myself. My perspective is so often, well, really often defective or delusional. Thank God for step 2, where our wholeness of thinking, the definition of sanity is wholeness of thinking. And thank goodness that does get restored, because my perspective is like Swiss cheese. There's gaps missing, there's holes missing, and that's how I'm viewing life. But slowly through this process of step 11 and not struggling and just being still, being quiet, practicing the pause, inviting my higher power into whatever situation it is, and then getting to experience experiencing this power. There's an unmasking of these delusions. I get to listen to the voice of the divine. And I like to say that I get to listen to the voice of the divine who spoke to me before I could speak a word, who healed me before I could make any gesture to help others, who set me free long before I could help free others, who loved me before I could even understand what love was. I think for me, anyway, just stick to my experience, I think one of the most difficult things for me about We Don't Struggle is that it takes trust. Man, it takes trust. I wish I had more time. I only have like 12 minutes, but I love, there's someone in AA that, maybe many people in AA, and they talk about the difference between faith and trust. And a guy doing a wheelbarrow. And anyway, if you don't know it, maybe we can talk about it later. But to get in that wheelbarrow, to trust and get in that wheelbarrow is not easy. To trust this power is not going to let me down. It's not easy for me. And I know it's not easy for a lot of other people. Because often, and I was this way, but often these days, people share with me that they struggle with a higher power or their conception of God, or, you know, any sort of God or spirituality. And that was me. Or they struggle with a daily practice. I have sponsees, and I do too, once in a while. Struggle with that daily practice, and sometimes my sponsor, I love my sponsor most of the time, but I love how he reminds me all the time that this is not a punishment. The spiritual way of life is not a punishment. Because sometimes I act like it's a punishment, and I was like, oh, I have to do this, or I do it like, with an attitude, but it's not. And sometimes I struggle with the daily practice and doing it because I don't feel anything. And people express a concern about this lack of desire for this, daily practice, or their lack of commitment. It's like I can't seem to be committed, and I can't seem to keep doing it, and I don't feel it. This the spiritual path is I'm just not feeling it, and I struggle with it. And when I hear that now today, I was thinking about it, and what comes up in me is two things, and that is a, a deep tenderness and a sadness. And what I mean by tenderness is the tenderness is due to the fact that they obviously do care. They're saying, I feel bad because I have this lack of desire. But the thing is they do have a desire, and they do care. They don't understand that they do care, and they do have a desire, and that they're a seeker. And why I say that is it's because they if they did not care, their perceived lack of caring would not worry or concern them. But they do care, or they wouldn't bring it up. They wouldn't be talking about it. They wouldn't be concerned about it. The very fact that I'm concerned that I struggle with it, I can't be committed with it, I don't really desire it all the time. Is there something wrong with me? Why can't I get this? Which we never get it, but the very fact that they are grappling with these things show me that, oh my goodness, you do care, you do have a desire, you are a seeker, or we wouldn't even be asking these questions, we wouldn't be having the conversation. And then the other thing, like I said, I experienced tenderness and sadness, and it's the sadness because of people, these women that I work with, sponsees that I work with, is their inability to see how deeply that this divine loves them, and loves them regardless of performance, regardless of their real or imagined lack of commitment. And I become sad because of what they're missing out on. There's I like reading all different mystics, spiritual leaders, guides, writers, whatever. And there's one that I was reading this week, and I was sharing with others. And one thing that they said was, I hope I got to get this. Hang on, I got to read it. That what we need most in order to make progress is to be silent before God. That's just beautiful to me. What we need most in order to make progress is to be silent before God. Goes on to write, silent with all our demands and with our tongue. For the language of God best hears is silent love. And I just think that's great, that I get to not struggle, to be still, to know that God is God. I personally most often struggle and experience suffering when I think I've been abandoned by God, that I'm alone in this world I'm out there hashing it out, struggling, trying to figure it out, having to figure it out all by myself. And that's when I grow so weary and tired. And I love in the promises it says, we don't tire so easily. And I have found that true when my spiritual condition is um, healthy. I don't tire so easily, even if I'm working really hard. Physically, I just don't tire so easily. When I feel abandoned, it is a huge effort to practice a daily spiritual program. I really, like I mentioned before, I dislike the valleys. I dislike growth, dislike the valleys. I like to live on the mountaintop and have that great view. I don't like the valleys. My sponsor always says we grow in the valleys. I'm like, well, I don't like the growth, but we grow in the valleys. I don't like the valleys because in the valleys are the indecisions, the fear, the anxiety, and the stress. But step 11 tells me I don't struggle. And I need to remind myself of that again and again and again. I have to redirect again and again to trusting the power, to surrender, the pause, invite in to experience the power. Even when I'm convinced that it's doing nothing and it's a huge waste of time because I don't feel anything. I do it anyway. I've learned that patience and perseverance, just this one little step in front of the other in a spiritual walk, is essential, along with the attitude of willingness and humbleness, not demanding I need the answers right now. I got to figure it out. I don't like not knowing. I don't like not having the answers. But if I'm patient and I don't struggle, it helps prevent me from causing my own suffering and causing other people harm. When I don't struggle, I give my higher power access, which in turn gives me freedom and a much needed break from my plans, my great ideas. Gives me freedom from what I think I know. And I get freedom from the trouble or the anxiety that I cause myself by my thinking. I was told once that I am not punished for my thinking, I am punished by my thinking. And I have found that to be very, very true. Yes, my ego kicks up dust all the time. It tries to tell me that there's something wrong, something needs to be fixed, I need some answer, something needs to be managed. But through this step 11, not struggling, relaxing, and taking it easy, I learned to bear these doubts calmly, to be still and know God is God. I guess in closing, this the spiritual path is simple, but for me, it's not easy. It goes against all my natural default position of my ego. And often it seems to me that the way of the spiritual warrior is through the fire, not around it. I want to go around it. I want to avoid it. Thank goodness I don't have to walk this path alone. I don't have to walk through the fire alone. My sponsor walks with me. You all walk with me. You walk with me through the fire. And the good news is that I find out over and over and over that the fire is just an illusion. And when I walk through it, it tends to disappear. I want to thank you for having me today and for allowing me to share these things that I've been growing in and learning. And thank you for my life.